and gentlemen, it is now 5:31 p.m. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission work session of Monday, October 6th, 2025. Did anyone sign up to speak on any item listed on the work session agenda?
No one signed up. Please proceed.
Thank you. All right. Report on the City Council meeting decisions of September 18th, 2025. Is there anything further beyond what was in our packet? No? All right. Then we'll move on to the review of the public hearing items.
Okay. On the consent agenda, you have items 2, 3, and 4, and then you should have a memo in front of you now, which indicates that items number 5 and number 7 can be moved from the disapproval and be considered with the approval items.
5 and 7 or 5 and 6?
I believe it's 5 and 7.
Okay, the sheet I have says 5 and 6. All right.
Planners, correct me if I'm wrong, it's 2025-195 PL, the Irving ISD, and it's also the 2025-339 PL Highland West.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it looks like the numbering just got changed, but those are the right ones listed here.
Yeah, okay. And be happy to answer any questions on this.
Any questions on the consent agenda items? No? And I think we can go on to the individual items.
Okay, and first individual item is zoning case 2025-74-ZC.
Alrighty, good evening, Commissioners. Haley Riddick with Planning. Like Ken said, this is zoning case 2025-74-ZC. This is located at 1629 Glen Valley Drive. They're currently single-family residential 7.5. Their request is to go to a generalized site plan for R7.5. This is with variances to the side setbacks and then the maximum size of a carport in the rear yard. After review, staff finds no unnecessary hardship. In terms of public comments, there has been 3 in support and then none in opposition. So this is the aerial of the subject property, future land use, which is traditional neighborhood, and then the zoning. These are property owners that were notified, and then this is the site plan. So this kind of came to us, this all kind of started in October of 24. There was a phone call made to code enforcement about the structure, and it turns out it was built without a permit. And then the following month in November of 2024, they did submit a permit to the inspections department, but it was denied due to the encroaching into the side yard setback, and also exceeded the maximum size, and it also required like a gutter system because of its size. So here we're proposing to basically keep it where it is. So the distance from the side property line for carports, we allow 3 feet, but they're requesting 0 feet on that north property line, so right here. And then for the maximum carport size, per our code, it's 400 square feet is the max, but they're requesting 730 square feet. So this is subject property. And this is kind of a little bit better. So they have a 2-car garage. As far as I know, it's not been converted. And then this is the structure that they're talking about. And this is the neighbors to the north of them, to the south. And then I'm open for any comments or questions.
Is this one where the neighbor to the north said they were in favor of it?
Ooh.
Okay, so they were originally against it, but now they're in favor of it.
Supposedly sent a letter in negative and just supposedly sent another letter, so I'm okay with that.
Okay. Yeah, and then you had a question?
Yeah, would you go back a picture?
You're on.
Would you go back?
You might move that closer to you, I think.
One more. All right, now, you may see where the pickup truck, the red pickup truck is. That was it's concrete that's so close to the other property line. But behind, when he's talking about that carport, there's 2 or 3 vehicles or trailers in that carport behind the house.
Yeah, I know there's at least a trailer. In their letter of intent, they did say they built it to protect the equipment and the vehicles. I believe it's music, so I think it's music maybe in the trailer. Again, the applicant should be here so to be able to verify what is actually used for, but that's what they said in their letter of intent is to.
Well, what he told me was that he's got tools in there, and he just wants to protect his tools and stuff.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
Any other questions?
The complaint that was made, was it just because of being built without permit?
And I would have to refresh my memory on that. I just know that it was a reactive call, so it means someone came in and complained. I don't know in terms of how much, who it was and why it was. Most likely they just saw the structure and how close it was to the fence and probably called.
And when was it built?
Looks like as early as 2024. October 2024 is whenever it was, the case was opened or a call was made. So I think it was early 2024. Again, I'd have to confirm your aerial.
Any other questions? No? All right, let's go on to the next one.
Right.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Item number 10 is zoning case 2025-129ZC. You saw this one last time. This was the case where the applicant was seeking variance from the requirement for Section 535 for basically the neighborhood compatibility ordinance. Excuse me. They're looking to subdivide the existing property into 3 tracts. One would be 55, 2 of them would be 55 feet wide, one of them would be 65 feet wide. The two smaller, the yellow tract would comply with the minimum lot width and the minimum lot area that's required. Tract 1 and Tract 2, the pink tracts, would require a variance for the minimum lot width of about 4 feet per the Section 535 and of about 3,300 square feet for for neighborhood compatibility. All 3 of these lots exceed the minimum R6 requirements, but again, Section 535 requires the compatibility with the surrounding property. This is the math, if you will. Won't go into this, but basically in detail, but this is basically how we came up with it, and these are the properties. Again, we have the subject property, and property to the east, west, and north. And again, the applicant's, I think it was his brother, came in last time, but the applicant was not able to. So the commission voted to postpone this. The applicant has indicated to me that he will be here tonight, so be happy to answer any questions that you have.
The packet said that one of the buildings is being torn down. Which one is that? Is that one there?
Yeah, this one right
Okay.
here, it'll have to be, basically, this portion will have to be torn down, because if they're going to put the property line here, it's going to have to be 5 feet away from any building, so, but they know that, and, yeah, the house is over here, and that's the big deal. They want to keep the house and some of these other structures back here, is my understanding. Eventually, they'll probably, they've indicated they'll probably demolish this house and replace this one as well, but that's not the immediate plan for it.
And then one of the questions that had come up last time, if I remember correctly, was it looks, just from eyeing it, like if they did these 3 lots going the full length of the property, north to south, rather than having that T-shaped lot, that the square footage would work out, and that you could also adjust the width on those 2 side ones to either comply or come even closer to complying. Is there any reason that they couldn't do that or couldn't do part of that?
It certainly would come closer to complying, you're right. I'd have to run the actual numbers to see if they did not submit any new materials from last
Okay,
time.
but that's basically what the property to the west did. It
Right.
sort of, that's the way it
Right.
divided them up.
Right.
And it was still, looked like it was still in compliance.
Right.
Okay.
I think we talked about the last time, instead of 55, they move them to 57 and then drop the properties all the way to the back.
Which would be almost there,
Yeah, we'd be almost there as far as making it happen.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right, okay.
Dylan Harvey, Planning. This is zoning case 2025 183ZC. Their request is going 2620 East Growler Road. They're going from CC to SP1 for ML20 detailed site plan for outside storage of trucks, automobiles as a principal use, and a variance to the paving requirements. Staff recommendation is for approval, and there's been none in support or opposition for public comments. Here's an aerial view. Future land use, surrounding notification map. They're requesting to go, they're proposing compact mixed gravel in lieu of the paving requirements of concrete or asphalt, and no striping requirements of parking spaces. Here's the subject property, west of the property, east, north, so right in front of the property. And then any comments or questions?
Jocelyn, we visited about this one briefly. Is there any additional instruction we need to have on how we handle this?
So please remind me what your,
That sign that's there in the picture is no longer up?
oh, I'm sorry, this sign. We will have to get with the applicant. So when they post their signs, they send pictures to us to confirm the signs are up. They should stay up all the time. They should maintain those. We will remind them they need to put them back up before city council and stay there through city council.
Okay, but that doesn't affect what we need to do tonight? Or how
No,
we need to
we
handle
will
it?
have proof the sign is posted. Ideally, it would have been up the whole time, but as long as we had proof it was posted, that's the best we can do for now.
All right.
Didn't we have a similar type case, I don't know how far back, where the gravel wasn't going to be acceptable and they had to have paved or concrete?
We get them sometimes, yes. And the ordinance basically says something about if it's going to be light use, then the gravel is okay. Here, they just intend to store, so they don't want to pave the entire lot. And they can explain to you how they intend to use the property and whether you consider that a light use or not.
I think it said in the packet was there a reason for it was that the trucks that they're going to have gravel and whatnot on them.
Well, that's not light use. No. It's heavy duty, so I don't know why this would even, how this could even come close to qualifying. It need to be pavement.
That'll be your prerogative to hear what they say. If it's heavier trucks, it could crush the concrete anyway. Yeah.
Well, let's not start off giving them gravel to speak, never mind.
Usually when there's, Commissioner, usually when there's heavier equipment, a lot of times they will get the request for the gravel, particularly if it's something that's, more construction related, simply because it would, tear up the asphalt and the concrete more quickly. It's not unlike on a somewhat bigger scale, but for example, the Holt Cat properties and some of those other properties that have those, big cranes and everything that technically they're vehicles, they move, but they're on a gravel surface. They're approved for a gravel surface instead of the asphalt or concrete. Variance was granted by council, in years past.
I was just feeling we should stay consistent. Because this case would come up again down the road with someone else, but.
I think the applicant does need to it's a fair question to ask the applicant what exactly they're going to be storing and using on the site.
Are you done?
And the use would be just for that? They're not gonna be using anything else, like a building or manufacturing anything there?
No, there have been no proposed buildings that the applicant has requested, at least on their site plan, so.
You made a reference, excuse me, you made a reference towards Caterpillar. Caterpillar just spent a ton of money pouring concrete and taking out the rock and the gravel and stuff like that on their facility on Loop 12.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of the facility. I can't remember who owns it now, the one off 161. That's the one I was thinking of. I kept wanting to think veneer, and I knew that wasn't right.
All right, any other questions? No? All right.
Thank you.
Okay, and item number 12 is a conditional use permit, 2025-188. It's at the 2500 block of West LBJ. It's a request for a conditional use permit for an automatic car wash, and the staff recommendation is approval for an indefinite time period. We've not had any comment forms in support or opposition. So the property is located at the northwest corner of Home Depot Drive and the I-635 service road. So you have Home Depot over here. If the HEB would be going in under construction over here, it's next door to building over here. And the way this site is designed, it does not have access to, it doesn't have direct access to the service road or to Home Depot Drive. There's a service drive that runs back here that is a mutual access easement between all of the properties. And the access would be actually from the mutual access easement here, and this is actually a mutual access easement between these two properties over here. So the car wash, it's about 123 feet long. It would have 3 drive aisles kind of going into it, feeding into it, and then a single lane kind of going through it. And then this would be a canopy over the area right here, where everybody kind of takes the order of what kind of car wash you want. And then these are great areas here are the vacuum stalls. They look like this, and I'll show you another picture in a moment. There is a queuing plan that they were required to do, and that was approved. The proposed canopies themselves are about just under 11 feet tall at their tallest point, right where the red dot is. And the CUP criteria is that the use be consistent with the comprehensive plan, compatible with existing and adjacent uses, compatible with and preserves the character of the neighborhood, and any negative impact has been mitigated and not detrimental to the health, safety, and of the surrounding area. CUP limitations you can put on include what's listed here. So you have looking on the Home Depot Drive side, you are looking west across the property. It's vacant in the adjacent building with the American Red Cross next door. And then if you're looking north across the property, you have the Home Depot, again, over back behind it. So with that, that'd be staff's recommendations for approval. Because of the type of uses, we are not recommending a time period with that, but be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions?
Just a question about I think we've talked about this in the past about CUPs and the time period that might be attached to them. Is there a particular rationale for recommending an indefinite time period, or would that ever be subject to review, or what's the idea behind that?
I think from our standpoint, we certainly look at the value of the equipment and everything that's going in. It's certainly up to the commission and ultimately the city council to recommend a time period if you want. From our standpoint, we didn't think it was necessary at this particular location. It's a very commercial area, very highway-oriented, very auto-oriented. We didn't feel like it was necessary. It's not near any residential uses. It's the nearest car wash is a little over a half mile away down to the east, and then the other one that's even within about 3/4 mile is on the south side of of 635 over towards the Beltline side. So that's considerably far away when you actually are driving it as opposed to as the crows flies. So we just, our feeling is, especially since the access was not being taken directly off 635 or Home Depot Drive, but rather this internal aisle, that would certainly help the traffic situation. It wouldn't be a traffic issue. That was kind of our thinking behind it, but certainly it's up to the commission to recommend whatever you choose.
Do we have any comparables to similar developments, and if there have been time periods attached or not attached?
We haven't really, I don't recall if we've had any car washes approved with the CUP yet. Do you?
Yeah, the CUP for the car washes are relatively new. The intention was to look at these on a case-by-case basis, obviously. I don't think we've had any time periods attached. I can try to look up, but I don't think we have. I believe we've had a bigger one approved in the last year or so since we've done it, but I don't think there was a time period on it.
So if it's indefinite, is there ever an occasion where a CUP would be revisited? Like if there was a complaint or the city council wanted to take it up, or does that mean effectively they've got it, it's
No.
not subject to review?
So the two factors in a conditional use permit, which is what it makes them attractive, is the time period if you want to, but it's also the possibility of revocation. So that's why we liked it for car washes, because if for some reason they just didn't maintain it or started having issues, just for some reason did not operate it well anymore, we would still have that revocation option if we needed to.
All right, thanks.
Did we do the Quick Quack, which is the one half a mile east of this, also on the 635 access road? Was that a CUP?
I think that
that
was
was-
SP, wasn't it?
That was by SP, yeah,
So why was that one that way and this one's the CUP?
because we didn't have this yet.
Any other questions?
There is another car wash, not quite this kind of a design, but up there at 635 in MacArthur as well.
Yeah, that was
is a good one.
further than a half mile, is it?
And that was pretty busy. Very busy. This one is more for drive-through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, what is it currently zoned as?
Say again, I'm sorry?
What's the zoning for it at the moment?
CC?
Oh, so it is, but community commercial does not also have the car wash in it?
Now, they have to have the CUP, right?
All car washes have to be in a zoning district that would allow the CUP, and then the CUP would also have to be approved.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So isn't this a little bit more visible? Is this, I'm not trying to make a value judgment, so forgive the way this sounds, but wouldn't we look for something a little bit more attractive than a car wash on a very visible part of 635? Or do you consider this piece of land acceptable, that you can't pull into it from 635 like you could other things, so. There's a question there somewhere.
Sir, yeah, ultimately, it's a policy decision of the P and Z and council. You're right, the canopies are on the Home Depot side. They are maintaining all of their setbacks, so this is more than 50 feet back of the frontage road. In terms of weather, you think
But
it's
we have the right
appropriate?
to ask about some nice landscaping, maybe to make it, dress it up a bit, instead of having it just, to Terry's point, you
Yeah, you
won't see
can,
this until you're already past it.
you can,
You're going to have to go to Beltline and come back around.
you can certainly add that to your recommendation for additional landscaping. Buffer yards, screening, that can all be part of your recommendation.
Some of the newer ones look very modern.
Yeah.
The newer car washes, so like, I mean, my office is by Flower Mound, and there's like 2 or 3 that have popped up, and they look very nice, very modern. A lot of the new ones, they're just builders, they build them, they get the subscription going, and they sell them, so they want to make it look attractive. But I don't see a rendering, so I'm not sure what it's going to look like. It's not the typical traditional car wash that we're used to seeing before.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions? No? All right.
Okay. All right.
Good evening, Commissioners. The next case is 2025-212-ZC. It's located at 512 North Sowers Road. The proposal is to rezone the property from community commercial to a detailed site plan for community commercial that includes variances to both the minimum required parking and also the drive aisle width. The staff recommendation is no unnecessary hardship. We did not receive any public comment forms in support or opposition. And this is the aerial of the subject property. The site to the north of it is the Family Advocacy Center, and the property to the south is vacant and actually has a portion in the floodplain, so has not been developed. This is the future land use plan, the existing zoning, the property notification map, and the proposed site plan. There are 2 variance requests as stated. This is an existing building that has fallen into disrepair over the years. It's a very old building. The applicant purchased the property last December and initiated some improvements to the site with through the building inspections department. They were making interior upgrades, started with repairing the roof and then remodeling the interior. They also wanted to provide repaving for the parking lot, and it was through that review process that they realized they were not going to be able to meet the minimum required parking spaces. The city does require, for this particular use, a minimum of 8 spaces per 1,000 square feet, and then additional space beyond that. So for them, it would be a total of 10 spaces. They are asking to provide 7, so a variance of 3 spaces. They did reach out to the property owner to the south to inquire about possibly sharing or having an easement or a shared parking agreement where they could park some of the vehicles on that property. However, they were not successful in obtaining any kind of agreement. Regarding the drive aisle width, because of the configuration of the property and how tight the parking lot is, the drive aisle, if they have that 90-degree parking setup, requires that that there's a width of 24 feet for maneuvering space. So whenever you have those 90-degree parking spaces like you see here, there has to be, according to the zoning code, a 24-foot drive aisle for maneuvering in and out for two-way traffic. The applicant is proposing, at the bottom here, it starts out at 16 feet, and it's variable until it gets to the rear of the property, it's 13, and then at the very back goes back up to 15. So those are, in summary, the two variances being requested. This is the subject property. This is looking to the south and to the north, to the east. And again, resting on the site plan, I am happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Do we know anything about why they weren't able to get the agreement from the property owner to the south?
I do not, but I do know that the owner's here and that she can address those questions for you in more detail.
Okay. And if I understood correctly, the packet, it indicated that they were aware of these restrictions before they purchased the property?
Yes.
Okay. And then it also mentioned that, or it seemed to indicate that there could have been other options for uses for the property that would have not then needed these variances.
Correct.
Can you give some examples of what that might be?
If they had possibly office uses or retail uses, it's possible, just depending. The ratio for parking spaces is different for each of those. So there are uses that would require less parking and not that 8 spaces for the first 1,000.
What had it been before, back when it was being used previously?
I do not know. Does anybody remember?
On the east side of the building at the very end was a beauty salon. It's still got the name on it right now.
Okay.
Interesting.
They must not have been using the entire building? Is it what it looked like? Here. No, okay. So yeah, it looked like maybe part of it had been used in that fashion. But you said that now under the code, any sort of, because that's what they're wanting to use it for, basically, some sort
Yes.
of beauty salon.
Yes, apologies if
that-
I failed to mention that. They do want to use it as a beauty salon,
And
correct?
that just right off the bat, under the current code, mandates a minimum of 8 spaces.
Correct.
And that's before the employees and the customers, everybody who might be there.
Yes.
On that picture right there, where it says 13 foot, to the left of that is where the beauty salon is, and the rest of it's empty.
Okay,
That's where the current, it's painted, it doesn't look like it's being used, but that was the sign for the beauty salon in that small area up there.
all right. Any other questions?
When you say like they talk to the owner from the property on the south, you're talking about the empty land that is there.
Correct.
And this hasn't been even started to be built, right? This parking lot.
No.
No, the permits are on hold.
And to the north is the Family Advocacy Center, so, and did they approach the Family Advocacy Center? Although I recognize that that's a closed, I believe that building's closed.
I think
At present
they can't. I think the city's not able to. Is that right? The city can't enter into a
My
joint
understanding is that
agreement?
the city does not enter into private parking agreements for other businesses.
Thanks. So not an option.
So that's, yeah, this is the property to the north, and then, whoops, that's the lot to the south.
And the parking lot.
Correct. Well, the future parking lot.
Yeah. But I presume that had been what was the parking lot before.
I would assume so, because the drive cut is right here.
Yeah.
And that is grandfathered at its current width since it's existing.
Any other questions? Commissioner Sanguino?
So, I mean, are they, I'm trying to figure this out. I mean, do they have any parking spots that are conforming? Or actually none of the parking spots can be conforming?
Well, they need to build a parking lot, essentially.
Yeah, they don't have any parking right now at all. If there was parking in the past, it's washed away or grown over, and it's not concrete, which is the city's requirement. They worked multiple different layouts over the course of the last few months, had many meetings with staff to try and squeeze as many parking spaces in and still meet planning department's requirements for zoning and also traffic department's requirements, fire department requirements, and the most they could come up with in the end was the 7 spaces.
Now, maybe for Cody, I mean, is that enough for parking? Like if you wanted to park, like actually towards the end, are you able to?
Could you
park
get in there, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I assume the 24-foot requirement is because of the challenge of getting into spots like that.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
just saying,
backing out.
typically you need, the 24-foot requirement is what the ordinance says.
And it says that because, well, it's not like we tend to have lots of small cars here in Texas.
They're basically, when you pull into that driveway, you had a picture of, it's just dirt all the way to the back. I mean, there's no pavement,
Yeah.
there's nothing there.
So, I mean, whatever they did, they would need to build a parking lot. But in terms of, they could have other uses for the building that would allow them to need fewer parking spots, and they could then build a parking lot that would comply. Is that a correct statement?
Yes.
Okay.
We have not evaluated what those uses are because none were considered.
Yeah,
But it was brought up as an option.
okay. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, let's go on to the next one.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Abraham Zorrilla with the Planning Department, and I'm presenting tonight the zoning case number 2025-216-ZC for the Long John Silver's property located at 400 West Irving Boulevard. The request is to rezone the property from Heritage Crossing District Corridor Mixed Use to SP1 Detailed Site Plan Heritage Crossing District Corridor Mixed Use to allow a drive-through restaurant with variances from the Heritage Crossing District requirements. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property in order to demolish the existing building and replace it with a new 2,247 square foot single-story restaurant that includes a drive-through. Staff finds that there is no unnecessary hardship associated with this request, and we did not receive any public comment in support or in opposition for this case. Next, this is the aerial view map of the property. Here you can see that the property is located at the intersection of West Irving Boulevard and South O'Connor Road. The property is located at the property located to the north, to the south, and to the west are vacant. To the east, there's Bank of America, and the Starbucks is located at the northeast corner of the intersection. This is the future land use map. The property is designated under the Main Street downtown future land use category. This is the zoning map. It shows the property is zoned as HCD CMU. The notification map. The goals of the Heritage Crossing District are to promote a more functional and attractive community through the use of recognized urban design principles, and to allow property owners flexibility in land use while prescribing a higher level of detail in building design and form. This is the site plan of the applicant's site plan. The company's prototype building is positioned near the center of the property with drive-through lanes along West Irving Boulevard and South O'Connor Road. Although a restaurant use is permitted under the current zoning, the complete removal and reconstruction of the new building to comply with all current zoning and commercial design standards. The applicant has not requested any variances from the commercial design standards. However, the applicant is requesting 5 variances from Heritage Crossing District standards. First, the primary building frontage is required to face Irving Boulevard, which will be right here. However, the applicant is requesting a variance to orient the building toward the parking lot instead. Second, the primary entrance is required to be located along the street and connect to the public sidewalk. The applicant is requesting a variance to orient the entrance toward the parking lot. And the entrance, there are 2 entrances on this side of the building. Third, drive-through lanes are not allowed along Irving Boulevard. However, the applicant is requesting a variance to locate the drive-through in that area. So in other words, the drive-through lane is not allowed in this part of the property since it's facing West Irving Boulevard. Fourth, the standards require a 3-foot vegetative screen between the drive-through lanes and the sidewalk. So there is one here on West Irving Boulevard and South O'Connor Road. The applicant is requesting a variance as no screening is proposed. And finally, no more than 60% of the lot frontage may be occupied by a drive-through lane. The proposal shows 73%, meaning almost 3/4 of the frontage is dedicated to the drive-through on South O'Connor Road, which is right here. These are the applicant's preliminary elevations. The upper image shows the building frontage along Irving Boulevard, and the lower image shows the side facing South O'Connor Road. The applicant is not requesting any variances related to the building materials or transparency requirements. These elevations are not included as part of the zoning case. However, they will not comply with the commercial design standards. The preliminary elevations show fiber cement panels and engineered wood siding. The commercial design standards require minimum 80% masonry with at least 2 different masonry materials. EIFS and similar engineered panels are not considered masonry, and wood siding is prohibited in the commercial design standard. Again, the applicant has not requested variances to these standards, but has verbally agreed to comply with the requirements of the commercial design standards. This exhibit from the Heritage Crossing District illustrates the intended design for drive-through restaurants in the area. The building is placed along the street edge. The drive-through is located behind the building, and there is a clear pedestrian connection from the sidewalk to the entrances. This is a photo of the subject project from West Irving Boulevard. This is the same picture, just a different angle. The current Long John Silver building, as you can see, and the existing landscaping was installed by the city during the street reconstruction project. The existing 25-foot pole sign is a legal non-conforming sign. The site plan indicates it will remain. And there is a stone retaining wall approximately 2 to 3 feet in height with terraced landscaping beds and ornamental grasses. And again, the building will be demolished. This is the subject project from South O'Connor Road. This is an interior of the subject project from south of the building. This is another interior subject property from the west. And looking east at the subject property and property adjacent to the west. The proposed site plan orients the building and entrance toward the parking lot rather than West Irving Boulevard, reducing pedestrian connectivity and visibility from the street. The drive-through is located along West Irving Boulevard without the required street screening, and it occupies almost 75% of the frontage, exceeding the maximum allowed. Together, these variances prioritize auto access over pedestrian activity and conflict with the intent of the Heritage Crossing District to create a pedestrian-oriented corridor. Since the existing building will be demolished, Again, staff finds no unnecessary hardship. With that, I conclude my presentation. I'm open for any questions.
And just to clarify, you gave an example of what the Heritage Crossing District is supposed to, sort of a model of what it's supposed to look like when, yeah, that's what I mean.
Correct.
The exhibit. And by saying there's no hardship, y'all don't see any reason why they couldn't follow something like that model.
Correct.
Okay.
Would it be again a Long John Silver?
Yes.
And what's the issue with Starbucks? I was reading the paperwork and they said like Starbucks is having some issues with the drive-through and traffic and.
Yeah. That it did get some of these variances and they didn't work out. Is that?
Yeah, Starbucks got the same variance to be able to have, they had to go through the SP process to have the driveway between the building and the street. They did provide a lot of other things that Long John Silver's is not. But part of the design for the Starbucks, and I remember working through this with them, puts the queuing through their parking lot. And that has proven, and they kind of do it from the beginning, it has proven to be a problem because if people are parking, trying to get in and out, you've now got the queuing lane through the middle of the parking lot. So that was the intention by that comment.
Any other questions? No. All right, thank you.
Alrighty, so this next case is 2025-232 DVP. This is located at 2150 Kimbrough Drive. They're going to go from PUD 1, DP 46 second revision for single-family 7.5 uses to now the third revision for 7.5 uses. You might have, or this might seem a little familiar to you, there was a development plan for the same property that was approved last year. I'll go into that in a minute, but just so you know. The variances is to the minimum side yard setback on the east side of the lot and to the maximum lot coverage. After review, staff finds no unnecessary hardship. In terms of public comment, there was one in support and none in opposition. So this is a subject property. Future land use, which is that traditional neighborhood. And it's surrounded by like the PUD, but 7.5 uses. These are the property owners that were notified. And this is the site plan. So this has a little bit of history, so I'm just going to try to do it succinctly, but excuse me if I wander a bit. But basically, the original development plan was 46. This was approved in 2003. The kind of variances or what was different from the regular 7.5 standards was that the minimum front yard was 20 feet instead of 25 feet. And then for the side yard, which is why we're here today, it was 7 feet. This is 2 feet greater than our 7.5. Usually it's 5 feet, but they had it as 7. So last year, when this case came, they were keeping all the variances besides for the side yard. They wanted to do 5 feet, which is the our 7.5 standard. It got approved when they went to LCA to get their variance granted as well. It was ultimately denied. It seemed that after a lot of conversation, it came to that if they can do what they're proposing now, which is 7 feet on between the house and then the neighbor, and then 3 feet on the side on the other side, that they would feel more comfortable with that. So that's kind of why they are here today. So on this side, it would be, like I said, 7 feet, and this is where the existing neighbor is. And then on the reason it's 3 feet on this other side is because ultimately this is where a existing kind of drainage easement, it's a big kind of culvert thing. There's nothing that can be developed in this section, so it'll always be vacant. So they're carrying over the other variances, but just modifying the side yard setbacks. So this is where the proposed house would be, and like I said, this is this neighbor, so this is where the 7 feet would be. So the neighbor, and this is the other side of them, so that's where that 3 feet side yard setback would be. And then this is north, and then just on the other side of here is where it kind of cuts through that drainage. And I'm open to any comments or questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, is this LCA or Cottonwood Valley HOA?
I know we worked with Phil
Or both.
Oshner initially.
It's the HOA.
Yeah,
For the
no, I know.
drainage.
Yeah, I just didn't
Oh,
know who gets final say here, LCA or Cottonwood Valley HOA?
Yeah, LCA should get final say on the setback, but the drainage, the property next door is actually the HOA.
The Cottonwood, yeah.
Do they have to go to Cottonwood Valley to get approval as well?
If
As an
there's a
HOA?
process for Cottonwood Valley, yes, they would need to get that approval. That would be independent, of course, of the city, but if there is a process, they would need to complete that process. But LCA is who we've been working with.
And LCA's given approval for this already?
I think it's-
They basically, when they did permit initially in 2024, they kind of went back and forth on it, and they were proposing, okay, try this. And so they have talked with LCA, and this is what they've kind of come to. In terms of formal agreements, I'm not sure. I think they're waiting for this to go through, and then they'll have to resubmit their building plans and stuff. But they have spoken and have been in contact with LCA about what can be done to work, for this house to work. So.
Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Zoning case 2025-243ZC, located at 2713 Douglas Avenue. They're requesting from R6 to SB2 for R6 to allow a variance from the side and rear yard setbacks for an accessory structure. Staff finding is there no unnecessary hardship, and there's been none in support or opposition for public comment. Here's the aerial view, future land use, surrounding zoning, notification map. Here's a brief overview of what they're proposing. Due to the height of the building at 11'5", I believe, they're required to go from the traditional 5-foot setback, increases to 6.5. They're proposing 3 foot 5 inches on the side yard and 3'6" off the rear yard. Here's a picture of the structure showing the rear yard, the subject property, south, east of the subject property, north, and then, this comes from, in September of last year, there was an investigation by the, I believe, code enforcement, that they could see the accessory structure from the yard. It was constructed without a permit. A permit was then applied for by the applicant in June, and then they were informed of the setback requirements. The accessory building does sit in a drainage and utility easement. They have reached out to Encore and have discussed, and Encore has approved of the encroachment. And for the drainage utility, they will have to get in contact with CIP for an encroachment license agreement for the drainage utility easement. And then any comments or questions?
That structure that they have there, would it have been able to fit in the yard moved over? Like, is there enough space there for it to fit? I mean, it's a relatively small structure, it looks like. I mean, it's tall, but pretty small. But is there, it looks like it's a very small backyard.
I mean, definitely that's a good question for the applicant on whether or not there's enough space back there. Be up to them.
Wouldn't we run into the issue of the structure being too close to the house if you moved it over?
That's, yeah.
There's a certain distance that's allowed by building inspections and not allowed by building inspections. But I think any way you move the structure, if you moved it over to the left, you're going to be in violation. If you move it over to the right, you're going to be in violation.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was, yeah. I mean, how far away from the house would it need to be? 10 feet?
10 feet.
Yeah, 10 feet.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions?
This one's mine
All
as
right.
well. Missed a typo there. The 2025-270S special fence plan located at 715 West Tanglewood Drive. They're requesting a variance from Chapter 1512, fence height. on a reverse frontage lot to allow an 8-foot tall board-on-board fence within the required 15-yard setback along Ryan Street. Staff finding does not meet the criteria for a variance. For public comments, there have been 5 responses in support and none in opposition. Here's an aerial view, a closer aerial view of where the proposed fence would be. Surrounding zoning notification map. When staff is looking at the condition for a approved fence plan, they're looking at does it violate the intent of the chapter? Will it not adversely affect the surrounding properties? Will it not adversely affect any of the public safety? And if there's any special conditions that might exist or that could be unique to this property. Brief overview of what they're requesting. The requirement is a minimum 15 foot back from the side property line. They are proposing a maximum foot of 8 feet. Again, board on board, about 17 inches or a foot and a half from the side property line. And then here's the subject property. The subject property from Ryan Street, so you can see where the fence is currently located. This is east of the property, just south of it, so they're neighbors. Then north of the subject property, looking at from Ryan Street. And then the south of the, so on Ryan Street, they're essentially backdoor neighbors. And then, yeah, any questions?
How close to the sidewalk then would it be with the new fence?
I believe they're proposing a foot and a half,
Okay, so it's
foot and 5 inches.
right up on the sidewalk now, whereas it's a good, 10 feet out
I
from the
believe-
sidewalk right now?
I believe, yeah, the current fence where it's been located has been, it seems like it's always been within that 15-foot setback.
And that's 15 feet from the street,
From
basically,
the property line.
property line. Okay.
And this, the way they did this is a little confusing because north is on the right side, so they kind of rotated it, so I just wanted to point that out.
Did you say that we received notices in opposition?
No, we've received 5 in support and none in opposition.
Thank you.
And it looked like there were properties that had the 8-foot fences down along Pioneer. I didn't see any up in north of Pioneer, but it looked like down on Pioneer there were a fair number that did. Are they similarly right up on the road? It seemed like they were.
I'm not quite sure. I don't think we-
Okay.
And the difference could be if they're rear to rear, then they can be on the property line. It's just when you're rear to front that this kicks in.
And did we get a letter in support from the neighbor there to the west?
Go back to
The one that's
number
most
5
directly
there.
affected by this, the one number 5?
No, I don't believe so. We did receive a letter of support from property number 23.
From 23.
And then I believe 12 or 27, one of those in the general area.
This is for Cody. Is there any issue with traffic with that fence moving out to behind the sidewalk?
I think what helps them in this case is the curvature of the road. If they were on the inside of the curve, it would be a much bigger issue. But being on the outside of a curve actually helps them sightline wise.
Okay.
And they're far enough from the intersection and things where the intersection will not be impacted.
Because it's only going halfway down the property or halfway across.
Correct.
Is that, yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty far from the
from the intersection itself?
corner of the intersection, yeah.
Just to answer the commissioner's question, can you go back to the map? Yeah. Property owners number 16 and 23 wrote in support, 5 did not. Property number 5 did not.
We just don't have anything from 5?
Right.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions? Well, let's go on to the next one.
This is on a case, number 2025-279 SFP. The applicant has requested for postponement. They were unable to attend tonight's meeting, and they would like to postpone to the November 3rd meeting.
Okay.
I'm so happy to go through it.
Then let's skip on to the next one.
Alrighty, for this next case, this is 2025-282ZC. This is located at 922 East 5th Street. Currently is that single-family residential 6, and they're wanting to do a generalized site plan for R6. The variance is to allow a covered patio to encroach into the front yard setback. After review, staff finding is that there's no unnecessary hardship. In terms of public comment for is there was none in support nor in opposition. So this is the aerial, the subject property, and the compact neighborhood for the future land use. And then the zoning is mostly surrounded by R6 with sites to the south. There's CN. Property owners that were notified. And this is their site plan. This also has a little bit of history. It looks like in July, basically into July of this year, there was a proactive notice of violation. It looks like there was partial construction, and they did not have a permit. And then August 11th of this year, the applicant did submit a request for a variance for the encroachment. And then it looks like a day later, the inspections department investigated, and it looks like the patio covered ended up being completed. So the structure itself is 13.5 feet tall, and it's framed into the roof line. And then it measures 11 feet long and 8 by feet wide. So this is the 8 by 0.5 feet here and 11 feet here. Their letter of intent was very brief. They just said that they wanted to protect things from the elements, but it is to note that there is an existing carport that is here. It's been there a long time. It got a permit in 1996. So this is subject property. So initially, before what was found, I guess before it was completed, basically this here was removed, and then there was kind of a support beam. But then they completed it, as in they put this wooden piece on the front. And then this is where that kind of carport is existing. This is their neighbors to the east, their neighbors to the west, and then their neighbors across the street. And I am open to any comments or questions.
It looked like up and down that street, there were a fair number of properties that had these kind of front porches that extended out in front of the rest of the house. I saw at least maybe 6, 7, 8, something like that.
So a lot of them had, so there's like a patio here, but that's flush with the build line.
Yeah, no, not that kind. Ones that were more like this one. Yeah, no, I looked because I noticed that too. I noticed there were ones like that, and then ones like where you have the pointer just there, where they were clearly flush as well. But there were half a dozen or so that did extend in front of the rest of the house along that street. Do you know anything about the history of that?
Not that I know.
Okay.
At least in terms of the zoning, there was no site plans in terms of the surrounding zoning, so.
I mean, they looked like they'd been there a long time.
Yeah.
Would
so-
that not then go into the issues in terms of the compatibility, you know?
I mean, it wouldn't make it legal non-conforming. I mean, it's kind of like the carport case, you know, just because your neighbor builds a carport illegally doesn't mean you get to do it illegally. But I also understand kind of what you're saying, like, yeah, if my neighbors have carports and it's not it hasn't become an issue, you know, I could see that as well, but.
Commissioner Pritchard, do you have?
I'm just checking, under staff findings, you're suggesting postponing to November the 3rd?
No, that was the last case. For the fence plan.
Just checking out.
This is for no unnecessary hardship.
Just making sure you're ready.
Just making sure.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ahmed?
Show that image again of the current.
Sorry?
The current image that you had up. Just want to get a better idea. Yeah, there. So this is the new structure, yeah?
Yeah, so this is the new one. So you can see back here, this is where the initial patio was, but they've extended it now to come closer. So they technically did have that and then a carport, but they wanted a bigger one, so.
Is that going up until their front porch? Like, because I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it comes out kind of here, and then there's an existing covered porch, kind of like where this beam is. That, and then going towards the front door is what's been existing. That's been covered probably since the house was built, so.
They just extended the roof?
Yeah, they extended the porch covering. So instead of it being,
Is it overhanging or is there posts?
see this little X, this is what was built initially with the house. This was initially the covered thing, the covered patio. And then this is outside of it, so it's coming outside the house, so it's not flush with the house anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Typically, this
Oh, you're off.
Typically, this is done to keep the water and everything off the front of the house. They extend them out. Normally, that's what most people attempt to do, to keep the water and the elements so it's not getting into the house if they had an issue with water or whatever. By extending it out, it'll keep it from drenching the entryway when you're getting in and out. So that's the reason why people normally do this.
Well, I guess the issue I have is that they were issued a notice of violation and they built it anyway. Is that correct?
It was basically in the process of being built, and then after they got notice of violation, they ended up completing it. So,
Yeah.
So yeah.
at least this is what, I mean, I wouldn't consider this necessarily finished, but they did more work onto it after they were
Yeah, they
issued
kept
a
working
violation.
on it after they were told there's a notice of violation.
Correct.
And, so yeah, I mean, I won't be able to support this at this time.
From a construction standpoint, if they started it, and like she was saying earlier in her comments, they had beams coming down and beams coming down, et cetera, you would almost have to at least get it to a point where it's secured and you don't have these beams coming down for safety issues, et cetera. So
Because it's definitely not finished.
yeah,
I mean, it's like this right now.
Yeah, it's not finished, but it is where it's supporting itself, and you don't have, beams coming down or structures. So I can't really, from that standpoint, I mean, I can understand why they continued on to get it to that point.
Yeah, but they do seem to have waited in terms of
As far as
actually
doing the
finishing.
actual finish up.
Yeah, the finish up. It's not been finished up.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I mean, at least from the picture, it doesn't look even. I don't know if it's just me from here, but at least from the picture, it doesn't look like it was well designed.
Have we ever seen any cases where they end up doing a similar thing with the carport itself and pulling the carport roof line out further to match with the roof line of the new covered patio?
You mean, so you're meaning like the top of it's the
Yeah.
same as the roof? Yes,
Yeah.
in terms of, yeah.
So in other words, making the carport deeper by bringing the front of it out further towards the street.
You mean as like if it's already existing, the carport's already existing? Most of them, yeah, I was like, not in the cases I've had, but
But if what their concern is the water hitting the front porch, that wouldn't really do anything for that.
Tying into the roof line.
Yeah.
New covered patio to make it look better.
If you brought the carport forward and tried to go into the roof line, you got to keep in mind that now you got a hip roof on the front for the porch coming out, and then you got your roof line on the other side. It would, I don't know, it would have to be pretty good size, and to make it look right, it'd have to be another probably 2.5 foot taller in height, and so that's going to really add to the area.
and also if they were to do that anyway, they would still need a variance for the,
Yeah.
yeah.
Any other questions? Commissioner Reyes?
As far as like the safetyness of the structure, do we, as like the city, touch on that? Like, as far, I know that inspections get done, but what are the procedures in terms of like the safety and ensuring that they're structured properly?
That's what the building code is for. That's why we get permits.
Gotcha.
So that would be done regardless. I mean, if we approved this, that it would still have to be compliant with the building code and be structurally sound.
Yeah, they'll get their inspections, because it will now be a legal structure, And so they'll get on their inspections and whatever they need to do to ensure it doesn't fall over.
Procedurally speaking, is this the first step before they can go to code? Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? No? All right, let's go on to the next one.
Zoning case 2025-309 ZC, located at 412 Elaine Drive. They're requesting to go from R6 to SP2 for R6 to allow a variance for a carport to encroach into the front yard setback. Staff finding no unnecessary hardship, and there have been none in support or opposition for public comment. Here's an aerial view of future land use, surrounding zoning, notification map, carport map. As you can see here up on the top right here, there's two SP2 cases that have been approved previously on Him Street.
You mean carports that go into the front yard setback?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
An overview of the request, the requirement, the house is built at about a 35-foot line, which is kind of hard to tell from the measurement of aerials. But they're essentially asking for a 15-foot variance into the front yard. Here's the subject property, south of the subject property, north, east, and then, yeah. Any questions? Subject property? All right.
And from your chart earlier, there are no other carports that encroach on the front yard setback on this street?
No, they're not.
I didn't see any, but your records don't show any.
I believe there's, within a half-mile radius, there's 11 additional carports that didn't seem like they've gone through the, zoning variance process, but I don't believe there are any on this street.
Yeah, they were all like back on the side or in the backyard. Yeah.
I didn't see him driving. I didn't see him in the area.
No, I didn't see anything like this proposal on that street. Were there any letters in support or opposition?
There were not.
Okay. Any other questions?
So they're going to be 15 feet from their property line in the front, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Did they explain why they're, I see a car garage.
They have not said why. They just are requesting a carport. They've not.
In addition to the garage they already have.
That is the request.
Well, I just want to add, in their letter of intent, in case you didn't see it, they wanted to protect their vehicles from hail and sun damage.
Historically, we've passed almost carports here as long as they're not encroaching within 10 feet of the property line. Is pretty much what we have done and what council has approved.
I think we've also
In the
taken
past.
into account what the rest of the neighborhood looks like.
Well, that's true, compatibility, but I'm just saying typically that's where we've been. It's got to start somewhere.
Any other questions? All right, let's go on to the next one. Number 21.
Good evening again, Commissioners. Gina Costanza Grant with the Planning Department. The next case is 2025-357 DVP, located at 660 Walnut Ridge Drive. The applicant is requesting to change the property from PUD number 2 with development plan number 12, 21st revision for community commercial uses, to reallocate those community commercial uses for an RAB, which is a restaurant with the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption. The staff recommendation is for approval, and we did not receive any comments in support. We did receive one in opposition. This is an aerial of the subject property. and the future land use map, the zoning map, notification map, the indication of the property in red that sent a letter in opposition. And this is the development plan. We don't need to discuss the variances right now. We'll discuss that in the next case. There's a companion case that follows. The development plan is simply to reallocate those acreage uses in PUD 2 from commercial to SP1 RAB. So the staff did not have any issue with this. The property actually had the same zoning years ago. In 2006, the property was rezoned to SP1 RAB. I believe the original restaurant in that location was a Bennigan's. It then changed hands several times and went out of business. The owner in 2019 actually requested to repeal the RAB. So at that time, the RAB was repealed. It went back to CC, or community commercial zoning, and now they have a new structure on site and would like to reallocate that SP1 RAB acreage back for use of a restaurant. We'll go ahead and go to the...
Just before you do, Gina,
Yeah,
I'm just
sure.
confused because the PUD RAB is not Valley Ranch, it's LCA, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so just make a note on page 186, it says within the PUD Valley Ranch. So I got a little confused as to
Oh,
which PUD.
apologies.
Yeah, it's all right, just, it took me a minute until I realized where it was.
Yeah, that's a typo.
No
Apologies.
problem.
The property owner that protested or objected, is that
The Hampton,
The Hyatt?
the Hyatt Place?
the Hyatt
Yes.
place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So if we go ahead and consider or discuss the next case that's companion to this, it is 2025-311 ZC, also located at 660 Walnut Ridge Drive. Again, the zoning is PUD 2. The applicant is requesting on this particular case the SP1 RAB, which is a detailed site plan for a restaurant with the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption. The staff is recommending approval of the RAB, but not the related variances for parking. And again, the same none in support and one in opposition letters were received. We'll go ahead and skip to the site plan. So this is the more detailed site plan that was submitted for the restaurant and the parking lot. The building has been expanded slightly from its original footprint. We also have, I did another slide that just kind of shows in relation to the parking variance. The parking spaces in yellow are all 9x16 parking spaces. Those total 26. It appears those were approved, again, many years ago with the original site plan for the property, and it is likely that those may have been approved as compact spaces. Not positive, because the compact spaces would have also been a little bit or a little less wide, but nonetheless, they were 9x16. The spaces in green were approved at standard size, so 9x18 full spaces. There are 24 of those. And regarding the variances, the applicant is requesting a variance for those spaces that already exist to remain as 8x16. And they are also requesting a variance of, for restaurant seating, normally it would be one space per 2.5 seats. They were originally requesting 1 per 3 seats. I understand from talking with the applicant today, they are considering actually just asking for the variance that they had with the previous restaurant zoning case, which was 1 space per 2.85 seats. They do have 50 parking spaces. That would give them a capacity of 146 seats. So basically, they're capped at 50 parking spaces no matter what. That parking ratio just allows them to have more seats or less seats. So this is the rendering that they gave us for the exterior of the building. This is the subject property.
No, this is what it looks like.
This is the hotel that's just south of the subject property. And this is to the east, to the north. And again, resting on the site plan, I am happy to take any questions you have.
So the 50 seats is what they had when it was the Bennigans?
It was
Or
actually
50 parking spots?
slightly more. They eliminated a row of parking right here when they expanded the building.
Okay, so since it was a Bennigan's, they expanded the building.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It had burned and was very damaged due to fire, and to my understanding, it was completely demoed at one time, so there was nothing on the site. This is the reconstruction, and yes, it did expand slightly beyond that original footprint.
Okay.
If they take the 9x16s and 9x18s and make them deeper to comply with current parking standards, ain't that going to get in the middle of the fire lane?
We had this discussion last week. On the western side of the property with these spaces, they should be okay because this fire lane is 28 feet. So he would easily be able to restripe those. This fire lane is only 24 foot deep, so he would have to go pave or stripe and pave additional on the north side of these spaces, which may get him into that utility easement. So I don't know that he could stripe these to be any longer without encroaching into the fire lane and making it 2 feet shorter.
What is the required depth?
For the parking space, 18. Unless they're compact. But there's a 10% cap on compact parking.
Would this be just one restaurant as a whole, or would it be divided into?
He has mentioned that he is not sure what the concept is going to be, but he has considered placing multiple concepts within the single space. I know he was prepared to address that tonight.
Okay.
Gina, would you mind touching a little bit on the opposition in terms of the hotel that said that they share the parking spaces? Where exactly is the shared?
I don't know that they actually share parking spaces. They would have to have some type of an agreement in place, which they can do. You can share parking spaces as long as you're within 300 feet, and the other site has an overflow of parking.
They do.
So, but from what I understand, the owner of this parcel, I don't believe has a shared parking agreement with the property owner that owns the hotel.
Okay.
I think they can clarify that for you.
Or did they mean that the hotel is currently making use of some of the parking that's technically part of the restaurant? Or would be part of the restaurant?
That I'm not sure. We did not investigate that because they are not part of the request. So we're assuming that all their parking can be accommodated on their site.
Okay. You have any questions? Any other questions? No? Thank you.
All right, this is our final case for the evening. This is zoning case 2025-312ZC, located at 2828 Winslow Street. They are currently R6, and they're going to do a generalized site plan for I6. This is for a variance to the side yard building setback. After review, staff finding that a hardship does exist. In terms of public comment, there was one letter in support and then none in opposition. This is the location. And then future land use, that traditional neighborhood, surrounded by R6, property owners that were notified, and then this is the site plan. So why they had to submit for zoning changes initially, this house was built and platted in the 1960s. So where the house was originally built was 15 feet building setback on this corner lot. Well, a fire happened. They had to knock it down, so their legal non-conforming status was mute. So they want to now rebuild the house, but to this basically the same layout on the same foundation that it was initially done in the 60s. So now that they're doing that and our standards have been updated, since it's a corner lot, it would be 20 feet, but they're just now asking for the 15 feet that was, where the house previously was and was legal. So this is the subject property before the fire, and then this is after. So you can kind of see that there's even fire damage to the neighbor. This is kind of from the corner street to look at the lot. And then this is east of the subject property, north, so their neighbors across the street. And then I'm open to any comments or questions.
Question I got is for Jocelyn. We had that fire on the Comfort Inn on 114. And they could build back to their existing non-conforming status of the current rules. What stops them from doing the exact same thing?
So the Comfort Inn has a site plan. It was an SP case. So it had the permanent zoning district in order to build back to what they were. Whereas this one, it was legal, it was legal at the time it was built, but once you lose that non-conforming, once the house burned down over 50%, so obviously it burned almost 100%, foundations was left, then the rules that apply at the time would kick in. So the Comfort Inn, for instance, if it had been legal in the CC district and then burned, it would have to build back to whatever the CC district would have been at the time. So the difference is that had its own SP zoning district that applied specifically to the hotel.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Don't know if you actually know the answer to this, but if they were to build on top of that slab, what year would it be the new house? The 1960s or 2025?
You mean if they built to the foundation?
Over that foundation?
Yeah, because that was kind of one of the only things that was left was the foundation. So yeah, if they were to build to it, it would be that 15-foot setback. So basically there would be foundation left over if they had to build to the current standards, since it'd have to be 20 feet instead of 15.
But what year would it be that house that is built on?
The appraisal district, I'm sure, would make it new. Is that your question, how they would tag it at the appraisal district? Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because everything's going to be new about it.
Yeah, there's nothing left, so.
I would, the house has been there since 1950. That's 70 years, 70, 75 years whenever it was built in the 50s. But it's not been an issue in the last 70, 75 years. So I would support this.
Any other questions? No? Well, that's the last of our individual items. Are there any future agenda items anybody wants to bring up for putting on the agenda sometime down the road? No? In that case, the work session is adjourned at 7 p.m., and we will start up in about 10 minutes in the other room.